Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Development Sector Series, another episode of #Devsectorseries. So if you're anywhere, just share, like, and share, and #Devsectorseries. This is a platform where we discuss with various stakeholders on how they contribute to the development sector and changing the world. So if you like what you're hearing, please like and share so that we can get to as many people as we can so that we can do our part in contributing to change the world. So if you're watching from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, please encourage me by liking and sharing this broadcast, guys, so it helps the algorithm so it can show it to more people. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I said in the video, because we're at almost 1,000 subscribers. And with your help, we can get to that by the end of the year. Let me know where you're watching from so that I can thank you personally. Today, we're going to be engaging in a conversation about organizational development, which is one of my favorite topics. A couple of months ago, we talked with Oyebisi Oluseyi, who is the executive director of the Nigeria Network of NGOs, on building sustainable nonprofits and how they're able to build their memberships to over 300,000 members, which was as of June of this year. Today, we are going to be talking about the nitty-gritty with an awesome organizational expert, Dr. Josephine Ogazi-Egwuonwu, who is the founder and executive director of Widows and Orphans Empowerment Organization. So what I'm going to do right now is go over her video bio. Now, listen to me, everyone. Today, this evening, is the anniversary of the protesters that were killed during the NSAS protest. So as I introduce Dr. Ogazi-Egwuonwu, we're going to have a minute silence on behalf of those who passed away. So we're going to do this in honor of people who were standing up for what was right and our democracy. Thank you as we honor the people who passed away. So now we're going to introduce Dr. Josephine, and we will be honoring our comrades, okay? All right, let's do this. See you in a second. Josephine Ogazi-Egwuonwu is an organizational development and resource mobilization expert with over 20 years of experience, which she gained from leadership positions working as a country director, chief of party of 3 international organizations: Winrock International, University Research Company, and European Cooperation for Rural Development. She is the executive director, founder of Widows and Orphans Empowerment Organization, WEWE, and a consultancy firm, Management Solutions for Africa, and a lead facilitator of an online NGO school. She is highly gifted and passionate about helping local NGOs with resource mobilization and raised over $40 million for nonprofits. She has an upcoming book, Resource Mobilization for Local NGOs in Nigeria. She was a consultant to the EU ACT project, where she led the EU Roadmap for Engaging CSOs in Nigeria 2021 to 2027. She has built the capacity of 200 local NGOs. WEWE is currently a resource partner and subgrantee to the USAID-funded Strengthen Civil Advocacy and Local Engagement Scale project and implemented by Palladium International. She is passionate about strengthening the Nigerian civic space. Consequently, she has authored a book, How to Set Up a Credible NGO in Nigeria. She also has a blog called NGO Corner, where she shares her NGO capacity development experience to help other local NGOs. Allow me to introduce to some and present to others Dr. Josephine Ogazi-Egwuonwu, organizational development expert. Do this. All right, Dr. Josephine, how are you? So good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
awesome. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna just have like a minute of silence for the protesters that departed this evening of last year, October 20th, 2020, during the NSAS protest. So everyone that is live, wherever you're watching from, please join us as we issue this minute of silence. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for observing the moment of silence, the minute of silence. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen. Thank you all so much for that moment of silence. Okay, so Dr. Josephine is going to be ready in a moment. We're going to be talking about organizational development, which is one of my favorite topics. One thing that we're going to be discussing in this session is just in transition from what we just did, we're going to just talk a little bit about the shrinking civic space, Doctor, which is one of your passions. So it says, so I wanted to just get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on the current shrinking civic space and its effect on advocacy groups, which are a lot of the groups that you work with in building their organizational capacity? So what are your thoughts on it and its effect and the effect on the organizations you work with that are pressure groups and advocacy groups?
Yeah, thank you. And I want to say a heartfelt condolence to the families of those that lost young ones or loved ones during the NSAS. And also I want to appreciate all the organizations that stood up at that time. And as a result, they have, had their accounts frozen, have been harassed, have been denied visas. So we are all colleagues and comrades in the civic space. And I want to send out a condolence and appreciation to those that stood up during the NSAS protest. Indeed, the civic space is shrinking. And the civic space is being continually restrictive and restricted and restrictive. There have been so many laws that have been attempted to use to even furthermore restrict us, and there's laws that are existing that have been passed that have been restricted. One of them is the recent CAMA, the 1990 Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, was amended in 2020, and it came with a clause that gave Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, it gave them the authority to change trustees or the trustees of an organization without recourse to court. So that was very restrictive, and I kudos to the civil society who have reached out to CAC to raise these concerns about this clause in the recent CAMA. Not only that, recently, there's a Cybercrime Act of around 2015 that that gives room for the government to, take individuals to court for social media articles that they post. There's also the recent ban on Twitter after NSAS, and then they tried to bring in the hate speech bill in 2020, the NGO bill in 2016, and right now, I've not got confirmed reports, but I've gotten reliable information that a donor agency bill was proposed this year, 2021, yes, in the House of Reps. And that bill, I've been trying to find out the source, whether to confirm. I have not been able to confirm, but if that bill is, I think it has passed first reading, but I'm not sure. And it is a donor agency regulatory bill, 2021, and by the House of Reps, and it's designed to regulate donors. And so, if you look at all these bills that are out, it gives you the confirms that the civic space is shrinking. And in addition, I did consultancy for EU Act for the EU on the NGO roadmap, and then we discovered that there are 21 laws in Nigeria that civil society are required to comply to, and some of them, I'm 20 years experience, I didn't even realize that they were there. And then after that assignment, I realized, and all these 21 laws, which include like EFCC, the Special Control for Money Laundering, the National Health Insurance Act, the Federal Inland Revenue Act. There's so many, there are 21 of them that
That's a lot.
NGOs in Nigeria have to comply. Yes. So with this, and then the other additional laws that they're bringing up, and CAMA, right now, if an NGO speaks out, there's, in fact, EFCC has a new requirement called the reporting requirements, cash-based reporting requirement, where if you get up to 5 million naira, I can't remember exactly, if you get up to 5 million naira in a transaction for an individual and 10 million for an organization, you have to report monthly on that. And if you have a cash lodgement of $1,000, you have to report that every month to EFCC. EFCC's school.
With inflation, that's not a lot of money. So it's going to be a lot of reporting. And
yes,
we're not able to track that.
And these reporting requirements are by law. So it's not something you can say, I don't want to. If you don't comply to any of those 21 laws or the new EFCC requirements, you are not compliant, and the government has all these avenues to shut you down, to freeze your account. So yes, an NGO like me, I can say the wrong thing today, tomorrow they freeze my account, because they have so many restrictive laws that they can use against you. That maybe some of the laws, there's some of our grassroots NGOs are not even aware of them, and they can shut you down, freeze your account. So that is the civic space we have today, which is what we have today. But if we can come together, we can also dialogue with government to do something about it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was quite comprehensive in terms of talking about some of the and some of them that you just mentioned, the donor agency bill. I mean, this is the first time I'm currently hearing about that. So that is very current information that I feel like the audience needs to hear about. And then, just so many of these restrictive laws is kind of like an invisible gag order for civil society organizations, like the organizations that lend support during the NSAS protests, which is, as a democracy, we have a freedom to protest, so which is some of the issues that come to bear. So now that you've talked about some of the laws. What your specialty is pretty much for organizations to have the institutional strength to be
Yes.
impactful, which is what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go into this question now, which is, do you think, because in order to become a sustainable institution, it costs money, and a lot of
Yes.
NGOs have to raise money. So do you think majority of these non-profits have the institutional capacity to raise funds? Can you shed some light on that, please?
Efua, I would say a big no. And why I'm saying no is that majority of non-for-profits, they have the passion but they don't have the institutional capacity, the organizational capacity in resource mobilization. That's fundraising. And when I talk about resource mobilization, fundraising, I'm talking about having the skill set, having the ability to know what to do to raise money to sustain their organizational aims and objectives. That's why I said the answer is no. And then why I'm saying is no is that when you invited me to this to speak on this blog, I went to find out about not blog, sorry, this series. I went to find out about development sector series, and I read about it, and I realized that in terms of this question on whether they have capacity, I identified that development sector series, you talked about the disconnect between institutional capacity of local non-for-profits and their passion. You talked about that and I really identify with that, because you have a lot of EDs, executive directors of NGOs that are listening now. They have the passion, they have the interest, the willingness to help the less privileged, to socially impact their generation, but they don't have the institutional capacity. That's what I saw is one of the reasons for this development sector series. And just recently, I was talking to one of my colleagues in NGO, and I asked her about her NGO, and we got talking, and I said, well, you need to go to CAC, you know, to go and register with tax office. You've never filed your taxes. She said, but she has passion. She's using her money to help the less privileged. And she said, but why will I pay taxes? Why will I have to go through all the route of going to CAC to file my taxes, to update my taxes? That it's my money that I'm spending, and I'm even helping the government. So why are they putting all these requirements up? And I'm like, you have to be compliant. If you're not compliant, then there's an issue. And so there's a passionate woman who is ready to help less privileged, but she has no institutional, organizational capacity. Sometimes, most of them, they don't even have an office, but they are working from home, which is a home office, which is fine. So in terms of resource mobilization and fundraising, they have the passion, but they don't have the skills to raise resources. Another thing you said in development, the reason why you set up, you dived into development sector series. You said that you saw a disconnect between the development experts in the development sector and the grassroots implementers. I really understood that the development experts, they have the skill set for resource mobilization, but they're working with international organizations. They're not with the grassroots organizations that can't afford to pay them. So I now saw that disconnect. So that's what feeds into my answer of no, why majority of our NGOs don't have the skill set. And what is this skill set? To God be the glory, Efua, resource mobilization is my natural gift. I mean, I always tell people this, that if your enemies recommend you for something, then you are good at that thing. Because for me, resource mobilization, even my enemies, people that don't like me, they normally still recommend, I mean, Josephine, I don't like her, but if it's resource mobilization, she's naturally gifted. For me, resource mobilization is such that if I want to relax or I want to to do something of leisure. Then I write proposals. I look for I engage in resource mobilization activities. So when we're talking about raising funds, what do we really mean? People always think it's just about writing proposals. No, resource mobilization, I've been able to look at it from 12 areas, and I'll just quickly go through them so that those are listening to understand what type of skills they need for resource mobilization. One is crowdfunding. You know, crowdfunding is online crowdfunding. There are like over 30 online crowdfunding sites like GoFundMe, Global Giving. So they can paste a project on online and they can crowdfund. Although it needs a lot of resources to keep following up with donations, which sometimes is a challenge. And then there's donation boxes. They can put donation boxes in ShopRite, in places where there's high traffic. And we've done that. And my donation boxes in hotels that we put, 30,000 comes in, and it's very helpful for local NGOs. Then there's writing. Number 3 is writing letters of requesting for donations from international organizations. And that is one of the ways. And then another way is networking. Networking is like you become a member of a network that is in your thematic area. For instance, my organization, Widows and Orphans Empowerment, we're a member of NEP1. Sorry, not NEP1. Sorry, NEP1 is not a member of NUSAN. NUSAN is a Nigerian Society for Water and Sanitation. And then we're also a member of NACTA. NACTA is the National Association for Anti-Trafficking. We're also a member of AYONG, that is an association of NGOs working in orphans and vulnerable children. When you become you can network by becoming a member of those type of associations, and then they can link you to grants. They can also receive grants and then give you technical assistance, in-kind resources, or cash resources. So that's another way you can raise funds if you don't know how to write proposals. Another way is publishing technical books. You know, a lot of NGOs and the grassroots, they have technical capability in what they do, in livelihood development, in agriculture. They are technically competent and they are the experts in their field. They can write a book and they can sell it, and that they can use that to generate funds for the organization. Number 6 is proposal writing itself. That is the common one everybody knows. You write proposals to donors. Then there's also personal funds. You can use your own personal funds to fund your own activities, which a lot of people are doing, which is usually not enough. Then there's also the model I like, and the model I'm using now, where you have a for-profit arm of your NGO, not the same name of the NGO. You have another registered entity that is for-profit, that generates funding, and then you can apply it back into NGO work. But actually, recently with the work I've been doing with the EU, we found out from the regulators that that's CAC, that an NGO can make profit registered as incorporated trustees. Before, there's 2 types of registration with CAC. There's registration as limited by guarantee, which allows you to for profit, and then the profit you make, you can now apply it back. You can't share it among the directors, but you can apply it back into the NGO. So that I used to talk about, you have to register with limited by guarantee with CAC before you can do business. But then we talked with the CAC. They said no, even as incorporated trustees, which a lot of NGOs are incorporated
trustees. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. They said yes. You can still. They said it verbally. I didn't see it in writing. So let's people understand the context. Verbally. So they said yes, that you can do business, but you will pay tax on the business aspect as company income tax. So if I have an NGO, I'm doing activities and I'm charging money, and one part of the activity is for grants. That one will not be taxed. But the other portion, 50%, is like I have a plantation of oranges, and then I'm selling the oranges. So when I sell the oranges, I make 1 million. Then there's a tax, there's a company income tax I must pay on that. Then once I do that as an NGO, then the tax office and CSC said they're fine with that. So I'm talking about resource mobilization and fundraising now. So for fundraising, if you're listening and you have your NGO, the good model is, if you're registered as incorporated trustees, you can still do business, but you need to pay company tax on it, comply with the tax regulations, pay tax on it, and then you can now plow the after tax funds to your organization, and that's a model I'm promoting as the most sustainable model for all NGOs to have a for-profit arm where they generate income, and that income can sustain them whether they have a grant from a donor or not. And then they can pursue their own activities. And what donors like nowadays is an NGO that is, engaged in following their aims and objectives, and they come and support, rather than an NGO just receiving a grant to do service delivery, whether it's in line with their aim and objective, just to survive. So donors now are looking for this NGO that has aims and objectives. They have their own money. They are working towards the aims and objectives. Let's support them. Then instead of distorting them out of what they're normally doing, to make them to do service delivery. And in the end, after the service delivery, the NGO is back to square one because they don't have any money. So that is the model that I'm promoting, this having both a for-profit arm of an NGO and a non-profit. So if you see me, I have widows. You see, introduced me as Widows and Orphans Empowerment Organization. That's an NGO. That's non-for-profit. Then you introduced me as Management Solutions for Africa. That's for-profit. Then I charge and then I pay taxes on that. So that's the best model. Then another model that I just found out recently is public speaking, what I'm doing now. So what I'm doing now, so a CBO or an NGO say, how does that, Madam Josephine, how does that one help me to find money for my NGO to have social impact? What happens is that public speaking about your work, about your NGO work, exposes you to connect with donors, connect with people, resources. A lot of people that have connected with people who were able to provide resources to them. It's through public speaking and thank God for social media. We have Instagram, you have Twitter. Okay, Twitter is banned, so we can't use Twitter, but we have Facebook. We have email, we have so many things now. So that is one of them. And then 11th is taking your NGO online. That's what my own organization is doing now. That is, you take your NGO activities on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And that will also expose you to resources online, personnel, resources online, and then exposes you to network online, and then opens up for resources that would come your way. And finally, on that one is fundraising dinners. That's the traditional, do fundraising dinners, invite people, and then they could, for a particular cause. So those are the 12 fundraising skill sets an NGO requires. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was just so. You talked about the skills that they need in terms of of raising funds. So, like, what do you think? Even when they are getting individual donor partnerships and institutional, private philanthropy or donor agencies, they need to be ready. Even if I'm going to volunteer for WEWE now, it's like, okay, so what do you do? How do I align with what you are doing? So that I can take ownership of that. So how do these non-profits, how do you think they need to prepare for these kinds of partnerships, whether individual or institutional partnerships?
Yes, thank you very much. Preparation for partnerships with donors, partnership with individuals is something that I'm very passionate about. And a lot of NGOs are not really ready. They're ready for the resources, but they're institutionally not ready for partnership. I really love your development sector series, and you
Yeah,
mentioned that the organizations have passion, but they don't have
they
any
do.
capacity. So if you're a civil society ED listening to me now, you have the passion. You really want to do the work, but you don't have any office, you don't have staff, you don't have policies, you don't comply to government regulations, then you don't have institutional capacity. So the question is, what do we need to do to prepare to partner with donors, to partner with individuals? We need to put our house in order. We need to, one, get an office space. Can you imagine? I have an NGO school by the grace of God. My first batch of students were about 20. And after finishing them, I said, okay, I'm going to come to your office now and do organizational capacity assessment. All of them said, oh, we don't have an office. Oh, I'm like, hey, do you want to start? You don't have an office. So where are you working from? They have a beautiful website, but they don't have an office. They said they're working from home. I said, it's fine to work up. I started my NGO from my house. So it's not so bad. But, if you want to partner with donors, they can't come to your house. When your husband will pass and your children will be playing, they need to come to a space, a small space. So that's a step, but don't feel bad if you don't have an office. All of us started from somewhere. You have the passion, so fine, but you need an office. No matter how small, you need an office that is different from your house, is better. So you start from there. Then you start from policies, organizational policies. Get your policies. That's human resource policies, accounting policies, all your safeguarding policies. Then after that, you need first of all, you need to register with either limited by guarantee or incorporated trustees. Then you get your office. Then you get your organizational policies. Then you get your board of trustees or board of directors, and then you need to understand the Nigerian compliant regulation, those 21 laws I talked about. You need to understand them. You need to know which ones you need to need to comply to. And then after that, you need to look for staff a team who can work with you. And then you need your systems to be in place and be compliant. So my concern is that because Efua talked about NGOs working in advocacy. NGOs working in advocacy are pointing finger against government. You have NGOs working in advocacy that are working against anti-corruption, right? They are pointing government,
Yes.
you are eating money, government, you are chopping money. Wait, what about you? No. I have an NGO that was my student. His contract is on his project is anti-corruption. So I won't mention them so that they will not come out
Okay.
and fight me later. My students, And I said to them, hello, do you have policy? No. Hello, are you compliant to EF? No. Are you compliant to the 21 laws? No. I said, then you are accusing government. What about you? You have to put your house in order and check all the boxes before you can now accuse government. And talking to some of the NGOs working with the National Assembly, they're very wary of our civil society. They think we are not regulated. We just receive money and nobody's regulating us. We do what we like. So we have to show that we are accountable. I can't go and accuse anybody in government if my own organization is not compliant to the 21 laws. There's still 21 until we come together to
we need to shrink those laws, though. There are too many.
to shrink them. They're shrinking us. We need to shrink them back.
Over-regulated, honestly.
We're over-regulated. Well, some people, that's a big discussion. There's a big conversation going on. Are we over-regulated? Because most of the laws are not enforced. But the thing is that government can wake up any day and enforce any of those laws and use it.
Maybe that's what they are setting up self. We don't even know. So we have to get in front of it.
We have to do something about it. We have to come together. People are doing things about it, but in pockets and in silos. We are not like me and you now. We just met in terms of our activities together, but if more of us can come together and have a platform that we can speak as one voice, that would be very good to start dialoguing to. Some of these laws were put in place, a long time ago, or just copying some British government laws, So now things have changed. We need to, and the civil society is growing and has grown so much, and the civil society is now having a role to play in the development and the social impact of this country. Then we need to sit down with government and rethink some of these laws, and then let them be reassured that we are ready to be accountable, so that they will not feel that, we're just a bunch of NGOs running around collecting money and nobody's regulating us,
Exactly.
So thank you.
No problem. I do want to flag this. I think EFCC and the SCUMO
Yes.
and some other
Yes.
agencies, they are trying to, I don't know if you're aware of that risk assessment of NGOs.
Yes, the risk assessment they are going to do, yes.
Yeah, so, hopefully this will be an opportunity for non-profits and the government to work together and say, hey guys, what can we do to address the overregulation, so that we can all work together? Because I think there was an interview that I did with Oluseyi with NNNGOs. Yes, and he said one thing he said was that what they do is they would bring out these laws, and NNNGO and their members would try to implement and give them feedback. Hey guys, this doesn't make sense. Can we work together? So maybe more of that kind of conversation can work for us, because it's getting too much.
So I met with EFCC doing the roadmap. The risk assessment is something globally all the countries are doing, so they have Nigeria has to do it, and they are doing it just to assess the risk, the different organizational levels of risk for money laundering. So it's not really to do with the civic space per se. It's just a thing they have to check their box that Nigeria has done the risk assessment. And then these are the categories of NGOs that are higher at risk than the others. So a report is going to come out, and they're going to submit it to the global money laundering system. So it's not really anything that we can use it to dialogue on the general 21 laws issue. So it's not.
At least we can start somewhere. At least we can start.
Yes. But they're willing. They're willing. When I spoke to them, they're willing. They said, when I went there on behalf of EU Act, they said to me, who are you now? Which organization? Which network? Which I said, no, I'm just a consultant. They said, you guys are too many. This one will come today, this one will come. Why don't you people come together so you're one, So I said, okay. And I saw willingness on their behalf to understand our sector. And I saw willingness on their behalf to listen. They're open to listen. So what I want people to take home is that the government is open and willing to listen to us. But we just need to come together on a single platform to approach them, to dialogue about this shrinking civic space. Thank you.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. In fact, I was talking to another of our colleagues, Victoria, from Spaces for Change, and she said the same thing you're saying, that the government is willing to work with us, to understand us, understand the peculiarities of civil society. I feel like we need to get ourselves together so that we can all come together and be one and be coordinated, so that that can happen. So it's a work in progress. And to be very honest with you, what the challenges of civil society in Nigeria is not uncommon, because I worked in the civic space in the US, and I was an organizer there, and it's some of the same issues in terms of everybody coming together and just being one representation. So it's something that we just have to navigate and see how we can do that, so that we can all come up with something more comprehensive. So let's see. You took one question and then you answered like 3 or 4. So let me see. So there is one question that Dr. Bridget Egwuonwu has just asked that I want to put here that will make this very interesting. She said here, let me I'm going to show I'm trying to
I can
show
see
it
it.
now.
How do the
Okay.
how
It says,
do the
how do
NGOs
the NGOs make sure activities of our Yahoo boys and girls don't affect their fundraising requests from international donors? That's a very interesting. That's someone from the audience.
That's a very good question, because the Yahoo, no, it is the Yahoo. Their mechanism is that they send out emails making requests for donations, but they usually send out. There's a difference. They not usually send out emails asking you for information about your account details. Remember, Efua, they will now ask you to click something where they will now get your account details to steal money from your account. You see, that's a little bit different. But so one of the fundraising activities that I mentioned was sending out letters to donors requesting for funding. So because of those Yahoo tactics that they normally send out requests for you to click so that they can get your account information to steal from your account, when you're sending out requests to donors, that's Bridget, right? Then, like, I was sending out NGO Corner emails, and I said, okay, I need to be clear that I'm not asking for any bank account details, I'm not asking for any donation, I'm not asking anybody to click any, I need to be
link,
clear that YouTube is a YouTube link, it's not a click, So I told my communications team, please, can you make sure that the link doesn't just come as a link that cannot be explained, that the link URL also mentions NGO Corner, and that my picture is there, and that so that anybody that's seeing it, if they click, they know they're clicking a YouTube page, not clicking, I get invitations to click, and I'm like, I'm not going to click this. I don't know if it's going to steal my information.
Exactly.
So whenever knowing that Yahoo boys and Yahoo girls are out there, you need to make it very clear. Like, for instance, so the answer to the question is, Yahoo girls and Yahoo boys are out there sending out email requests for funding, and they normally do it to get your account details or get you to do something based on your greed. Like, they offer you that I have some money in US, or have a course that is not, you go on the internet, there's nothing like that. Then they ask you to, using fraudulent means to get you your details or to send money. So that is very clear, and people that fall into their trap, usually it's greed is usually behind some of their requests. But our own requests are for donation for the less privileged. So I've never really seen any Yahoo boy asking for donation for less privileged yet. And normally they normally ask that they have some money somewhere, that somebody died. So if you want to get some of the money, you should, that's usually their own trick. So there's a slight difference. But whenever you're sending out raising funds for organizations, and you're sending out letters of donation requests, letters that you're sending to donors, you need to understand that. Like, for me, one day I sent an email to Belgium. I was trying to organize this resource mobilization training from an institute in Belgium. So I wrote to them, and I told them that I know that there are a lot of emails that come from Nigeria that is fraud. I put at the end of the email, but so that you can confirm that I'm not a Yahoo girl, I gave them a reference for them, a phone number of a Belgian company that knows me very well, for them to call. And then it took a week or so before they replied, but then they replied. And I guess they checked my references before they replied me. And they're now planning to come to Nigeria to do the training on EU proposal writing. They're one of the best. I learned from them. And so I wanted to bring them into Nigeria to do the training. So we have to be aware that we are known for that. And when we are applying for resources, we need to show that we are accountable and make sure that we are open about references. So having a good name as an organization is very important. Having good
Very key.
references from donors or people, so that when you present yourself, you clear the air that you're not one of those Yahoo boys. Otherwise, it's really affecting us asking for donations through email and letters. Thank you.
It's really a huge issue, in terms
It is.
of this.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
So it's a really, really good question. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask one final question. So guys, if you guys have any other questions for Dr. Josephine, please make sure you put that down. Give us some more good, juicy questions like that. So now,
Yes.
I wanted to ask one last question. We're now
Yes.
talking macro now. Do you think the sector as a whole is enabling to local nonprofits as they implement projects or as they implement their passions in their local communities? Do you think it's enabling? Do we think we could do more? Or what can we do to
Okay.
empower more organizations to become stronger?
Yes. So the question is, do we have an enabling environment for
Yes.
local non-profits and NGOs to implement their projects to have social impact, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I would say yes and no. I would say yes. What I would say yes, Efum, is that if any of us get funding to implement, we can go ahead and implement. We don't have a country that really come out with the police and say you can't implement your project. That's why I said yes. Some countries have a lot of restrictions. They can't do certain
Yes.
things. They can't pray. They can't. So what I would say yes is that Efu or I, if we get a project grant from an NGO, from a donor, typically we can go out and implement it. We don't have 100% disabling environment. We have a 50% enabling environment. But the other aspect where I would say no in terms of implementing, I feel is the institutional capacity issue. The issue of, as I'm saying yes, is the passion is there. We have a lot of things that are not working in our country, but we have passion, so we can push it through. We can go out and help that orphan that doesn't have school fees and mobilize people to pay the child school fees and all that. Yes, but our organizational, institutional capacity is not there. We're not compliant to laws, and we don't know anything about what we need to comply to, and then we don't know how to comply. So that's why I say it's 50-50. So the passion, that thing about disconnect, you have passion and you have a passion to implement your work. The passion is there. The technical know-how is there. Nigerians are very good, though. We have sound
Yeah.
technical know-how.
Oh my
Yes,
God, very,
we have
very.
brains.
Some of the
PhD,
best. Yes.
PhD, just implementing on the field to get in my own project, the staff know how to get orphans to get their drugs, HIV, their viral suppression down. We have the passion to do that. We can do it. But institutionally, and in terms of institutional capacity to help us to sustain our organizations so that they will not die after the grant finishes, the enabling environment is not there. And why I say it's not there is that the skills required to comply to these 21 laws, the skills required to raise resources to keep your organization, to have staff after the project, after the donor project finishes, the skills to have resources to sustain your staff, to sustain your board activities, to sustain your activities is limited. It's the enabling environment that we need, and enabling skills that we need to, and we don't have that. So that answers the question. Do you think the sector is no? We're not. And then also the regulations that are a lot. We don't know. We don't have knowledge of them, and we don't know how to. We don't know much about how to comply to them. So, and then some of the regulations are duplicative, and they're just maybe a little bit too much, and so that's why I would say yes. in terms of implementing at the grassroots. The passion is there. Nobody stops people from helping the less privileged. But the communities are there to help, and the church and the mosque and everybody. But then in the institutional capacity, we don't have an enabling environment. Another reason why we don't have an enabling environment is that we don't have training facilities. We don't have, like when my organization got a direct grant from USAID of about 100 million, 11 million US dollars. That was then, not now. We didn't have any like Efua, you know, your development sector series. We didn't have that to guide us on what we needed to do, because this your program is a connector. It connects people to knowledge that they need to help the NGO. And we didn't have you, Efra. Where were you? Where were you when we needed? We didn't have you. We didn't have my NGO school. You know, we almost sunk. We had to. We almost sunk. But you know, the Nigerians, we have resilience. We have the entrepreneurs. We have resilience. Yes, we have. And I struggled. I remember that time there was a guy that came from US. I went to pick him from that has a knowledge on NGO institutional capacity strengthening and compliance and financial compliance. I went to the airport, waited for him, picked him and everything, and he charged me $100,000 for him to help me do one little thing. And I'm like, I didn't have that kind of money, but I was so desperate. So then I went to hire some people, and but today, all those mistakes that we made I can now use them to teach. And that's why you see, I don't want anyone led NGO, also men as well too, but focus on women and to go through the pains that my organization had to go to, because we didn't have FOA, we didn't have an NGO school that could guide us for free. You know, FOA would say it's for free. I'm not paying you. You don't have to pay me. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really, you know, I think with your resilience, it's what is even giving people like us hope that, okay, that we can do it and we can get direct funding from the donors. Because when I start in 2017, my client hired me to go and conduct an assessment around the country, and I ended up doing brown bag sessions. Where are your policies? And he's in ED's office. Where is ED? The door is locked. Okay. So these were things I was here. So I said, okay, we need to start working to help non-profit organizations. And then I now said, look, I said, like you said earlier, we have some of the greatest minds in the world. I just saw a disconnect between the greatest minds like yourself to the grassroots and to people who are the passionate folks who are working. So now say, okay, let's bridge that gap. So that's what this platform is for. I'm so passionate about it. Sometimes I'm so tired, I don't want to do it, but I'm like, no. I said, it's, you know, people are gaining from this, so that we can continue to, you can have more impactful organizations, because the funding that you did is not for your pocket, it's to impact society. So it's folks like you that are, you know, that want to impact society, then we now have a better country as a result. So thank you again so much for even taking time to speak to us. So I just want to, let me not take up much more of your time. So any final thoughts?
Is it for me, or I thought any more questions from the
I checked the audience. I think they are really consuming what you're saying. So I just wanted to get your final thoughts, and the banner is doing its own thing.
I think the topic is building impact-driven organizations.
Yes.
So I want to say now is the time for civil society to rise up to the occasion and put their house in order, especially those in the area of advocacy, to put their house in order in terms of institutional capacity to be able to partner with the donors, partner with government to have social impact on our country. In 2009, God spoke to me particularly. He said, Josephine, I'm taking the resources from government to the civil society. And that was 12 years
Really?
ago. And I did, yes,
Wow.
I was in Cross River doing a resource mobilization training for EU STRIP. And I was training 40 NGOs on proposal writing. And I was in my room and I was praying and I heard that voice, Josephine, I'm taking my resources. You know, God owns the silver and the gold. The cattle and the thousand hill belongs to God. So all these resources belong to him. So he said he's going to transfer it to the civil society. That was 12 years ago. And I started seeing donors waking up and saying, we're no more giving international. We want to give more funds to local. You have FCDO, that's Foreign Commonwealth Development. They said they want to give 40%. Last time I listened to them, to locals. USAID has started the program that they want to give locals direct funding. So I started seeing that vision come to pass. So it's time now for executive directors who have NGOs to sit up, because international donors want to, now that vision is coming to pass. They want to give what God said is coming to pass. They want to give more resources to locals. But it's like, where are the NGOs that are compliant? Where are they, Efua? How many NGOs are compliant to, first of all, government regulations? Most NGOs are compliant to their donors. They're compliant to USAID. They're compliant to DFID because that's where they get their grant from. But how many are compliant to the 21 laws that we found? You know, no. So it's time for NGOs. It's not business as usual as before. It's time for us to, you know, what I recommend is that every NGO that has means to hire an internal audit, a compliance person.
Compliance person, yes. Well, not a lot of that was what we're thinking, that can we afford that kind of most NGOs
it's like
can't
a
afford it.
NYC, you know, you can't afford it, but like many people they are graduating and they don't have where to do their primary assignment. Hire an auditor. Say, I'll give you 20,000, please, on top of your NYC, right? You know, and then start with that, but at least, or get a volunteer and then beg volunteer, please help me. I'll give you small this. And then, you know, so, but if you don't rise up to the occasion, what will happen? They will say they can't find any NGO that is compliant enough to manage large NGOs.
That's
so
true.
many times USAID has brought out grants, and I've been a victim of this twice. They've canceled the call because they say they don't have the capacity to give small grants. They want to give big ones, and they can't find local NGOs that are accountable, that are compliant enough, have the institutional capacity to, but we have the passion, we have the technical experience. So the international organizations will come and use us to do service delivery. And then when we finish the project, we're back to square one. The time is now. So that's my final thoughts. Any NGO, I have an NGO, Efua is there. I have an NGO blog, NGO Corner, that you can Google NGO Corner. You can get free updates. I have a book, How to Set Up a Credible NGO. I have a book, Resource Mobilization for Local NGOs. It's time for NGOs to now be ready to put some resources into building up the institutional capacity. It's no more okay just to be passion. I'm passionate for the elderly. I'm passionate for those that have HIV. I'm passionate for the youth. Passion is good. We have enough of that. Technical capability is good. We have enough of that. But we don't have NGOs that have any institutional capacity. So now it's shifting. If you want to continue saying have passion, fine. But if you want to be reckoned with among those that will stand out, to be able to be there to be able to, you know, receive these resources that God is talking about. And we're supposed to receive these resources so that we can complement the government, to help the government to develop this nation and have social impact. I hope I've summarized my final thoughts.
You have. You hit the nail right on the head. I'm just spinning my wheels. In fact, I'm setting up my calendar next year. Auntie Josephine, you will come and join us. So if you need me anytime, you will come, because it's so vital. This institutional capacity. I think there was something that the I think she was the director of finance and administration for Yaga Africa. She says that when you have sustainable institutions, it is easy to manage funds.
Yes.
So it's you just hit the nail right on the head in terms of that, and it can't just be a select few. And sometimes donors, no offense, and they want impact, but they are lazy. When they see people who are doing the work, they give them the money, they do the work. They don't want to have to be doing all the work to try to build other institutions. They say these ones work. In fact, there was even one I spoke to that's a donor. She said, me, I can't be managing all these small grants, so I'm just going to give a grant to this, and this. You people manage the small ones. I don't get power. So it's like, it's up to us to now build those institutions so that it's not easier to manage those funds. So again, Dr. Josephine Ogazi-Egwuonwu, thank you so much. This was so helpful.
I want to thank you, Efua, for your vision of trying to be a connector of the institutional capacity disconnect and the passion, and then you have development experts in international ways that have the technology, and then you have the grassroots out there that is implementing, doesn't have that connects. When I read that about development sector series, I was so impressed, and I wish you were there when I needed you, when I didn't know anything about you. It's not too late. I pray we work together.
No, definitely, because your expertise is very key, especially because not a lot of local NGO groups have collected USAID money directly. So that experience, direct experience. And I even noticed something. I think I was working with a client, I think it was NDI, and they were picking out sub-grantees, and they were looking at proposals. I think we looked about 10 or 15 proposals, and we said, this proposal is so badly written, but we like the organization. Okay, let's help them write.
Yes.
We're helping them write the proposal. Okay, come. This is what you need to do so that you're ready. So so we need to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that happens. So again, Dr. Josephine, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And this is not going to be the last conversation. No, I hope you know that. So I'll be coming to the study again.
And that's in a second. That resource mobilization. I'm about to set up a resource mobilization and apprenticeship program for 6 months.
Really?
I'm looking at the lack of the resource mobilization skill out there, and the demand for like NGOs like us to hire young people who can write proposals well. So I'm trying to set up a resource mobilization training and resource mobilization apprenticeship program, so that I can help to strengthen the civic space by training these young graduates to be able to do those 12 resource mobilization things, so that an NGO can hire them and then pay them to help them to raise resources, because it's very time intensive, and the ED cannot spend all our time writing proposals. So that's what I want to do. And I think the scale project that USAID Scale is looking at also supporting NGOs to engage resource mobilization. So the gap is, where are those resource mobilization experts? They're not there. So I want to help to do that. And I'll let you know when I'm going to start the apprenticeship program. It's going to be intensive. They're going to work with me. I'm a resource mobilization expert, and actually sit down and learn how to write proposals, so that I can now put them in NGOs where they can be helping them to raise resources. And that's one of the things I want to do. And I'd love to partner with you to get involved with that. Thank you.
Definitely. That is a nugget. Sure, you guys are hearing, you're hearing it on this platform that that we're going to be engaging young whippersnappers that will be good, sharp, to be able to help raise funds for nonprofits, because it's very overwhelming. I was an ED for about 2 years in Lagos, and it's not easy. You're managing a team, you're managing your board, you're managing the projects you're already running, and then you're now looking for money. It's a stretch. So so that would be an asset, a great asset to the sector. Again, thank you so much. And again, I'm having a grant writing workshop next month, so I want to talk more with you about that, and maybe that can be an uptake for what you're doing, because it's yes, I am. I'm trying, because 2 years ago, I will appreciate it, because 2 years ago we had a seminar, which is NGO fundraising for social impact, which kind of question you talked about in terms of preparing nonprofits to raise funds. So it's pretty, and then I now repurposed it into an e-learning platform, which is an online course. So it's there, and that was kind of like an uptake from that. Like, okay, you're knowing what you're gonna do to be able to fundraise. Okay, you need to learn how to write a grant, because if you don't know how to write a grant, you can know all want to know about fundraising. If you don't know how to write it, it won't work. So that's what we're going forward to. So I'm going to be talking to you more about that. And guys, I'm already talking to an expert of experts, so you all need to come. So thank you so much, Dr. Josephine. I look forward to talking to you very soon.